may be asking yourself, why does this only say volumes 6 and 7? Well, that answer has a little bit more to it than you think. So, hey, it's Romania Black. And yes, when I was mapping out the manga volumes to talk to you about the case study of Vanitas, I originally was going to do volumes 1 through 5 because I've been told they were the first core and there wasn't too much different from the actual anime, and so they were like, oh, you could just look at them all at once. And I was like, okay. And then I had been told the second core, all I'd been told is that there were some changes made in the second half of the season. I was like, okay, well, my original plan was to do like volumes 6 and 7 and then volumes 8, 9, and 10 and do 2 separate weeks for them. And then I thought, oh, I'll just do them all together. It's fine. So then when I went to go buy the volumes, I saw 6, 7, 8, and 9 were available. And then I was like, oh, 10 doesn't come out till the end of October. So it works out. It works out great that I can actually read it as soon as it comes out and make the video for that next coming week. But I was like, I don't want to do just volumes 6 through 9 and just have volume 10 by itself next week. And I was like, I'll just read through and see kind of where things go with the plot. And if I get to like a stopping point, then I'll stop there. And so as it would be, the conclusion or climax of the Chloe and Jean-Jacques Beast of Javaldon arc is in the end of volume 7. It's not quite finished, so a little bit of volume 8 is going to bleed into it, but I was like, I'm going to do volume 6 and 7 and then have all of the Mihail business of the last 3 volumes in next week's video. So I apologize for making you wait a week to get through volumes 8, 9, and 10, but this is what I can do. So and I wanted to talk about these volumes because these 2 volumes do have some significant changes and expansions and explanations that the anime did not provide. So I thought, why not talk about them? And I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, aha, well, that's interesting. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about volume 6 and 7 of the case study of Vanitas. I don't know how long this is going to be, but there is some amazing artwork. There's some fun things that this series points out, and I'm excited about them. And then next week, we will finish off our case study of Vanitas for now with volumes 8, 9, and 10. So, yay. But yeah, so we're going to start out talking about volume 6. And something I really love that has carried over throughout this series is its use of color, as well as the steampunk artwork, as well as the elaborative, like the covers of these volumes are gorgeous. I freaking love them. They could all be like desktops, phone screens, everything. And the one of Astolfo is really, really good. I like it a lot. So this is the cover of volume 6 with Astolfo. I like the blue elements because it's case study of Vanitas. Gotta have some blue. I like the butterfly, the blue butterfly, but its wings are like eaten away. Do with that what you will with symbolism, right? I like Astolfo has like the blue wrapped around his waist. He has the knife. It's great. I like we get Astolfo booty to us here, but I like behind him there's the wreath, right? And I love that from the wreath there is not only is Astolfo standing on this like pile of skulls for the corpses, but he also has like the spider's web, which is fun because we have all of the Nania and Astolfo and Chloe and kind of like the web that has been circulating around the Beast of Javaldon. But I like the wreath also has the roses. It's covered in like briars with blood. You can see inside the alteration engine inside of it. It's a very cool design. I think that composition-wise, this cover is one of my favorites because it's just really freaking cool. And to go along with the roses, we have the one here of Chloe. I kind of like this. It's very watercolor, but I like the red rose is her eye, and there's the yellow roses around her. And then, of course, she has the blue and purple inside because we can't have a cover without a blue and purple theme. And I like that we have, like, the yellow goes with the black really, really well. I mean, color-wise, it just looks gorgeous. I love this absolutely. So, yeah. So, we last left off. We had Jean with Vanitas in the last volume. And we have Jean realizing that she's like, oh yeah, I like nuzzled up next to him naked. Oh no, this is a problem. And then I like that she sees Vanitas as vulnerable and she's like, well, that was kind of cute. And she's like, no, you shouldn't think this, Jean, you shouldn't. And then she comes to the realization that she will like she'll get on Vanitas's like, she'll get on his unexpected side and surprise him by acting all like perfectly fine with everything that happened, and then it's a fumble and panic. It's really great, right? So then, yeah, and then Jean notices her. Now, again, I took this picture because right off the bat, we see just like an anime that Vanitas does not have the little earring in his ear. And we'll talk about that in a moment, because I was like, are you freaking kidding? And are you freaking kidding, manga? Really? Okay. But just know that the manga makes a big deal out of Vanitas not having the earring in his ear. Like shows you multiple panels of him not having the earring. And you're like, well, what's up with that? Just know that has been shown to us. And fueling the conspiracy theories, tin hats were made and put on their faces, just letting you know, right? But basically, Jean is having this existential crisis of wondering, she's a burro, she should be a tool, she should just do what she's told, but how does she really feel about Chloe? Does she want to save Chloe? Does she want to kill her? What are we going to do? And so then we have the whole thing with the Doms, with the half vampires, half humans, right? And so I like that Dante is just kind of like, what are we doing? Like they've been sent on a mission to gather intel from Machina and to get the alteration engine him and Johan have. So what are we going to do about it? And then I like that Dante's like, you are like the least straightforward person, Vanitas, which he's not, right? Now, I do love that the manga does this great parallel of Jean being like all flustered about being naked around Vanitas. And then we immediately cut to Noe with the bite marks as he's naked again, and Chloe's like trying to drink his blood. It's a great parallel. Poor Noe. Like, consent is real. And then we get Jean-Jacques showing up to keep Chloe from drinking from him, right? I love the way the manga draws Jean-Jacques. He looks amazing. And I feel like the manga gives him so much more character. His voice actor does amazing. Don't get me wrong. His voice actor is great. But I really, really love how he is portrayed in the manga. He just, there's an innocence about him. There's an innocence, but also he's like a dog. He is basically Tadashi from Skate the Infinity to Chloe's Adam. Basically, it's like Chloe is Adam from Skate the Infinity and Jean-Jacques is Tadashi. They even have like the same dark hair and the quiet demeanor, but they would do anything for their master. Maybe that's why I like their relationship so much, because I love Adam and Tadashi. So maybe I love Chloe and Jean-Jacques for the same reasons. I'm realizing I have a couple type. And I can't escape it. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's great. But I love how he threatens Noe. And Noe's like, oh, Jean-Jacques saved me. And then he's like, yeah, very wrong indeed to drink from Chloe. And he's like, oh. But yeah, Jean-Jacques and Chloe are both jealous for each other. More power to him. More power to him. Am I right? So, okay. In the anime, I was so flustered. And so, because someone had pointed out in the Discord or in a comment that the earring was missing on Vanitas. And the way that the question was phrased, it made it seem like a spoiler to me. And I was so like, well, why is this being spoiled? What if there's this thing? What if the enemy gets a hold of the hourglass? The hourglass has this big significance And so then I see it again in the manga and I'm like, okay, we're going to get answers. The manga is going to expand upon it the way the anime doesn't, because the anime never even addresses it. The anime doesn't even recognize it as a thing. You go for 6 episodes seeing Vanitas without the earring and you think something's gonna come of it, and nothing does, and you're like, well, did I miss something? Then the manga shows us this panel at the end of the chapter, and Dante's like, what happened to your earring? And he said, oh, it's cold, so I took it off. And that's all the explanation we needed. Are you kidding me? That's it? That's all we got? It's just cold, so I took it off. Mangaka, how dare, he wore it this whole time, and then now, just because it's cold outside, I was so floored. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? But nope, that's the reason apparently. Mystery solved. I was like, I got all bent out of shape for nothing, like you do, right? So yeah, so I do like that the way that humor is handled in this manga a lot. And I like the fact that Jean-Jacques is like, Chloe, whose blood is better, mine or his? And Chloe's like, well, obviously Jean-Jacques is better. And then Noe's just sitting there like chopped liver, like, what am I going to do? And then Mur goes after them. I love it. And then Jean-Jacques and them are basically just keeping him in bed with him. But they mended his clothes. And of course, because Noe is a precious angel lamb baby, he sees the clothes are mended and he's in this warm bed and he's like, what good people. Which honestly, I kind of love that because Noe like has befriended Roland and befriended Chloe and Jean-Jacques by the end of this, and they're all good people, but they get this very bad reputation from the beginning, even though like we're led to believe that Jean-Jacques and Chloe are these monsters and these horrible villains. And then once Noe's in the castle with them, you find out, no, they're actually fine. They just have all this inner turmoil and everybody's against them going on, you know? So I think it's a really cool way to use a character to kind of suss out and flush out the fact that Jean-Jacques and Chloe are actually nice people. Right? Because everybody else is out for blood for them, you know? But we do get a lot more in these 2 volumes with the Marquis Machina, the Clockwork Fiend. We get a lot more with him. And his character is freaking weird. I don't know where the manga's going with this. I've only read volumes 6 and 7 as I'm recording this. I haven't read volumes 8, 9, and 10. That's going to be for next week. But I'm like, wait, what? His character is so bizarre. So Dante says that they were sent by Sir Francis Varney. Sir Francis Varney, also known as the Marquis Machina, the Clockwork Fiend. Hell, it may not even be anybody, because we find out the Shapeless One, like, takes on different personas and changes his name all the time, and we never see the Marquis Machina's face. Hell, the Shapeless One could be the Marquis Machina and just be posing in disguise, and I'll explain why further a little bit later, but I was like, for all we know, the Shapeless One is posing as all of these people. For all we know. You know? And so Vanitas asks Dante if he's a patron, and Dante's like, our only allies are other doms, which is going to be a talking point in the manga that I don't think the anime touched upon nearly as well. And so he's like, what the Machina Marquis hired him to do was get the kin of the Blue Moon involved, find out whether the alteration device exists, and bring it back to me. And that's right around the time Noe walks in on the dinner party and sees Nania with Chloe. So yeah, so the Marquis wants the alteration engine, which is what Ruthven wants, and he wants the Blue Moon vampire to get involved. Why? I guess to ensure that it gets used. I don't know. To get Chloe away from it. I don't know. But for some reason, they want the Blue Moon to get involved. The only thing that makes me think that it could be the Shapeless One is because the Shapeless One's all into the Blue Moon vampire as well. And they know maybe Noe is going to get involved if the Blue Moon gets involved. I don't know. What are we going to do with that? But there's a lot more given to us in terms of Chloe's backstory, in terms of Ruthven's backstory, in terms of Jean-Jacques' backstory. There is a lot more in these 2 volumes that we don't get in the actual anime, which is nice. It's nice to get more. It's all sad. It's all horrifically sad. But it is nice to get more information about them as we go through this. So we find out more about how the vampires are being hunted down. Chloe didn't realize this because she'd been sheltered all of her life. And Ruthven's like, oh no, everything's, he's trying to be this liaison between the humans and vampires. And August, who's Ruthven's known by, he has some really interesting panels. This one page here, one thing that I love is that Chloe's like, oh, well, so I should be careful around you, right? Because you're entangled up in all this. And there's this panel of him where he's like, sure, I'm the most suspicious one here. What? Like, he just calls himself out. But it's so bizarre because Ruthven seems like he has a very Noe type personality when he meets Chloe. And he's like, I'm not on the side of the vampires or the humans, which is exactly what Noe says as well. He basically says the exact same thing. And so 3 years pass. Like, she meets Jean, has all that happen, and then 3 years pass. And so we get this little side story where Chloe would like be hidden and go in disguise and go visit the rest of her family. She says a few times a year she would visit Chateau de Besquis and spend time with her family. And so they're all there. And so what's interesting is to know how much time has passed. Chloe says, I disobeyed your great-grandfather's instructions. Meaning that like this is her great grandson or great-grand, nephews, that are in front of her, right? And they don't even really know that she's family anymore. They just know she's like a hidden vampire, right? And so the grandson that's her relative, her descendant, he kind of says that he just thought she was afraid to go outside. He didn't realize that their grandfather had gave this order. And he's like, well, your position's unique, but you shouldn't feel stifled. You could go out and play with them. And that's kind of, you can kind of see why things start to build up with Chloe, because like in this family meeting, she realizes that what her father told her, her father was like, oh, well, I'll keep you hidden, I'll protect you. And she's realizing that over time, that like promise and that excuse and that alibi of her being a vampire, it's been warped over time, and to the point where her own family doesn't realize that she's their ancestor. Like that's kind of the creepy thing about it, right? That's the scary thing. So yeah, so then we jump forward, like basically Chloe goes out into the woods. We've seen all that, and then the Marquis Machina shows up as a freaking bear. What? This is how he shows up all the time. For example, in volume 6 and 7, this is how Machina shows up. Not in like an automaton, not in a machine. He's the clockwork fiend, but as a freaking bear. What? Why? It's so weird. I love her expression where she's just like, a bear. And it's not even an exclamation or a question. It's just a bear. That's how she responds. It's great. And so they're like, why is a bear in the castle? And he says, I'm Francis Varney. And then he says, I'm a vampire like yourself. Call me Marquis Machina. So he's a vampire. So Machina's a vampire as well. But all we see is his face. Now the question is, since he's always in, if it's not the shapeless one, if he's always in this random bear costume or in a machine, is it kind of like a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood thing where it's like Alphonse, where they're just a soul in a suit of armor? Is Machina like a curse bearer? We don't know, because they want the alteration engine. Well, why would you want the alteration engine except to alter your formula? Does the Marquis Machina, Francis Varney, even have a physical form anymore? Has he altered his own form and now he has to inhabit objects? We don't know. It's all up in the air, but it's interesting. But yeah, he's in a bear costume in the next 2 volumes, and so it's kind of bizarre. And he's drawn very realistically, so you're kind of just like, okay. It's great. And then yeah, he shows up for most of the volume and talks about Ruthven being, he might as well be dead. He's what they call a moderate. So he tried to like coexist between the humans and vampires. But this is the part that's interesting. The anime doesn't really talk about this, but the manga reveals that what caused Ruthven to lose his eye was his own students betraying him. His students that he taught betrayed him. And not just any students, but Jean's parents were colluded with the humans to plot to assassinate and annihilate the assembled vampire aristocrats who'd approved the peace. And then the traitors have been punished, and their daughter is going to live as a burrow. She'll be used as a tool. So that kind of adds like a whole freaking layer to this, right? Because now not only do you understand why Ruthven is so torn, because like the vampires he was working with, they ended up betraying him, but also there's like a layer of he probably didn't want to kill Jean because she was a little girl, so he chose to keep her as a burrow. But there's that deep-seated resentment against her parents for betraying him, so he has no problem using her as a tool. And he feels like if he doesn't use her as a tool, then she'll possibly be killed by the other vampires. So there's like all these extra layers that get revealed about Ruthven's character that's really interesting in this, right? He was too wounded to act, and there's no hope for his right eye, right? And so he's like, he kept going on about Chloe in his delirium because she has the alteration engine, so he possibly wanted to use her. I like that when Machina stands up in the bear costume, the chair's just stuck to him. It's like such a gag. But yeah. And so Machina asks Chloe to come with him, saying that eventually all of the terror going on with the vampires and humans where we are is going to spread to Gévaudan. And he's like, if you come with me, he's like, just leave the human world and come live with the vampires, and you can avoid all of this. But she can't do it. She thinks of her family. She thinks of the reason she's there. And she's like, I can't leave. And so Machina's like, well, fine. He's like, au revoir. He's like, I'll stop and see on you if I feel like it, which he doesn't. He doesn't until he sends Dante and them. And that's about the time that Ruthven shows up. So I get why they cut out the Machina storyline. I get it. But it would have been nice to have that extra layer of why Chloe feels like she has to stay. And also it would have explained Ruthven's situation so that when Ruthven shows up acting a crazy fool, we'd be like, oh, well, that's why he's like that. Okay. Because, yeah, he shows up and he's like, I took for granted we could understand each other. I was wrong. He was like, I was fundamentally wrong right from the start. And he's like, I have to set it right. And that's why he wants the alteration engine to like get back at the humans, right? And it's so crazy that like the thing that makes me very interested is that we saw originally this parallel between Ruthven and Noé. The thing of it is Noé has Vanitas and has not been betrayed, but Ruthven has been betrayed. So interesting, right? Interesting indeed. But yeah, and so Chloe tries to suck Chloe's blood, and she's like, nope, none of that. But here's the weird thing. When he, like, is talking very weird and his text bubbles are all in black, when she stops him from sucking her blood, he starts telling himself to stop, saying, don't show me any more strange things. And that's when his eye starts bleeding. And he tries to tell her something where he says, I'm whatever, and then he leaves. So the question is Ruthven, because he turns around and leaves. So it's like, is he a curse bearer? Is he infected with a curse? What was showing him strange things? What's going on? Is something controlling Ruthven and he's controlling other people and it's this big chain? I really like that this story is amping up a lot of mystery, and I'm glad the anime didn't just rush its exposition and like answer all the questions. So that has me really excited. I'm really excited to see that. Whatever comes of that in the story, that's going to be intriguing. But yeah, so then we have the whole idea of the charlatans parade. Or, in this case, after he leaves, let me get this right. Yep, we have August and I would never smile together the way we had before. I had lost my first friend forever. And then we see, what's interesting is, yeah, as soon as Ruthven leaves, that's when Charlatan and the parade shows up. So there's definitely a connection with Ruthven and Nania, for sure. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah. So then she gets word that Francis, Machina, tells her the war is over. 30 years after August had left her. So she's been there for like a long time, right? 30 years had passed. And Machina shows up in this like geisha costume to tell her. And she's like, I modeled it after the dolls of a country in the Far East. There's an armistice and Ruthven got things squared away. I'm not sure how he did it, but he got himself adopted into the family of a Grand Duke Oriflamme, and they used that authority to become a member of the Senate. And he used this maneuver and that to move his way up at the expense of the useless old dolters, and it was a joy to watch. So basically, somehow, thanks to this Grand Duke Oriflamme, Ruthven got in the system and started draining the swamp and gutting out the old blood and moving his way up. What's interesting is that the symbol there, I don't know if it's supposed to look like the shapeless one or what it is, but it's familiar, so it's interesting, right? But the armistice is not a complete coexistence. And he announces that they've built this other world called Altus for them to live in. It's with points that connect to sealed spaces identical to this place, yet different, like a parallel universe, basically. So the vampires, since they were generated by Babel, or I like that Machina calls the vampires defects or bugs of this world. They're just like little glitches in the system. And so they're able to go into this parallel space. And so they can be safe there. And so what's amazing is this page here where Machina is like, so yeah, he's like, we found this parallel universe. we don't have to stay here anymore. We're safe from the humans over there, so you could come with me there. And I love how Chloe says, August is amazing, isn't he? My dreams have been awful. I must be wore out. She's like, I have to complete the alteration device to restore humanity. And I love that contrast of her looking so tired and so worn out to her as a child. Like, same age, everything, but she's so, you can tell she looks so much older, even though her body hasn't aged a day. And Machina says again, he's like, will you come with me? And she says, I can only live as a Dapshare. So it's just so frustrating because she has all these, she's first asked by Machina to come with him and to leave that place. And she's like, no, I have family here. And then her family all leaves, you know, or starts to get more and more distant from her, but she can't leave because she's tied to that promise that her father made, right? And so it's like 50 years pass in the blink of an eye, and she keeps working on it. It's astounding. And then all of the researchers go. Her family ends up getting killed by the beast of Jeveldon. We find out how that goes. But yeah, it's so sad because Chloe had these chances, but she chose to stay to complete her father's work and that promise he made to her. And it's really tragic. Like her and Jean, it's really super tragic. Speaking of Jean-Jacques, I'm very upset that the anime cut one specific scene out. Mm-hmm. And that's that Jean-Jacques tells Noe that he wants to know, you know, Chloe sucked Noe's blood. So he's like, is his blood better than Chloe's? And so there's this scene like Noe gets this cut on his cheek and Jean-Jacques leans over and freaking licks it like a cat. And I was like, oh, and Noe's expression where he's like, like, what? Why is everybody doing this? It's like he suddenly becomes Billy Squire and everybody wants him. And Jean-Jacques like, I've never drank anyone's blood but Chloe's. So I was curious how it would taste. And he's like, Chloe's blood's better. I knew it. And that's when Noe realizes that Jean-Jacques is a vampire. And he's like, I wasn't thinking about it at all. I love that. I love that Jean-Jacques like, oh, you don't care that I'm a vampire or not? Like, his expressions, Jean-Jacques' expressions, amazing in these volumes. Amazing. But he's like, tells Noe how strange he is. It's so cute, right? It's so cute. But he makes Noe drink his blood. And I really like how the manga showed him drinking the blood and the reaction to it. Like, I love the whole like way he falls into the memories. The anime does it well, but the manga really makes it very stark and dynamic. And then, yep, we see Noe reaching like Chloe was reaching, and then we see Jean there. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is that the anime animated all of these scenes that were just like a panel of the manga, but then it doesn't show us like the extra material, which is fine. And Jean's like, I just wanted somebody to be able to remember us. Mm-hmm. Why did you save me? And then Jean-Jacques says, because you saved me from Jean. And that's how Noe knows that he's the beast. Mm-hmm. I love that little line there. I love Noe saying, why did you save me? He's like, because you saved me from Jean. And that reveals that he's the beast of Jeveldon. And that's, it's such a good reveal. And Noe being like, oh my God. And then, oh my God. The thing of him transforming into the beast for the first time for us, the audience. And, well, his transformation to the beast the first time was really well depicted in the manga. It's worth getting the volume alone. But I love that we see Jean-Jacques, like, looking happy. He's like, someone protected me, and that made me happy. And then we see that Nania is over him. He looks so young there, right? He looks extremely young. I know his voice actor has a deep voice and makes him sound much older, but he looks so youthful there. And then Nania asks, do you hate the world? And I love like the slow transformation of him in the shadows. He's like, I hate the humans that look down on Chloe and the vampires who abandoned her. Like, it's not him. His father abused him and all this, but Jean-Jacques doesn't care. But the fact that Chloe was attacked, that's where he draws the line, right? Oh my God, it's great. And so, yeah, it's such a good end to that chapter. So, yeah. And then Jean-Jacques, we have the idea of Jean-Jacques where he explains that he wanted Noe to drink his blood because he was an Archiviste and he would understand the story of him and Chloe. But there is this added detail that Chloe knows about the Archivistes and that they inherit memories through the blood. And there is a thing that says they have pale hair and dark brown skin. So apparently that's a marker. So apparently all the Archivistes have dark skin and pale blonde hair. That's like a sign of who they are. Apparently. Which is interesting because Luna, the Blue Moon vampire, has like extremely dark skin and like pale blonde, like white pale hair. So is there a connection between them there? I don't know. Are the Archivistes like the Blue Moon and Red Moon together because they make purple? I mean, it could be that the Archiviste line is like from a Blue Clan member and one of the Red Moon vampires. I don't know. I feel like I was doing this the whole time. Like, what does this mean? Could this mean something here? We don't know yet. But I love the idea of just Jean-Jacques wanting to protect Chloe at all costs. And then this panel where he stumbles upon Jean on the rooftop. Like, just chef's kiss. Like, just all of the beautiful line work. Like, the ink work on these chapters with Jean-Jacques as the Beast, great. It's amazing. So yeah, Noe is wondering what to do. He's like wondering like, do I help Chloe? What about Jean? Everything. And then as he's thinking about it, Vanitas saves him. And I love this panel of Noe crying and Vanitas is just like, I had to save you again. I don't like seeing you cry, but I don't want to acknowledge that I don't like seeing you cry. It's great. It's great. But these two, I mean, come on now. And then, okay, before we get to volume 7, we get this confessional with Sister Roland, which is amazing. Where he's like, salute! And it's like, Sister Roland, salute! And it says, question, why a nun? And Roland says, why, you ask? If I wore priest robes, I'd look just like I always do. And that would just be pretty dull, wouldn't it? In other words, it's for personal reasons. It's a good look for me, isn't it? Roland just wanted to dress in drag. It's fine. Question, you haven't been in the story for quite a while. How are you doing? I'm fantastic. Question, is it okay to stop by if I don't have anything to confess? Absolutely. I take confessions, of course, but I'll also listen to your troubles or whatever you got. Here, let's just get rid of this screen. And it's in the way. Now I can look at you in the eye when we talk. So it's like, Roland is just so direct. I freaking love it. So we have Sister Roland's confessional counseling office where he's like resolving any and all worries with muscle and a smile. I like that Roland's pretty buff. That's pretty cool. But we have the Lost Lambs. And the Lost Vanitas. Oh my god. So what we have here is that we have Lost Lambs M and G, the two lackeys there, that says, Captain, we finally found you. What are you doing here? Hurry and come back with us, won't you, sir? And Roland says, Maria and Jorge's. Thank you so much for always coming to get me, really. My apologies, though. I'm not your captain now. I'm a nun. Terribly sorry, but please understand. It's great. Then we have Lost Lamb J, which is Jean. I have a confession to make. The other day, I filled up on snacks, even though it was before mealtime, and I was only able to eat one full portion of the dinner they'd gone to the trouble of preparing. As a result, Master Luca thought I might be feeling unwell, and I caused him a lot of worry. Poor Jean. And Roland says, what? Eating things you like right when you want them makes them taste their very best, so that's fine, isn't it? After all, you did finish your own dinner, didn't you? Girls with hearty appetites strike me as quite wholesome and wonderful. I'm like, he just has like the best things to say. So then we have Noe, Lost Lamb Inn. It says, hello, Roland. It's been a while. What's been worrying me lately is that when I'm out walking with Vanitas, he gets lost right away. How can I correct that habit of his? And he says, oh, yes, monsieur. Bonsoir, Noe. It's been a long time. I get lost pretty fast myself, but Maria and Jorge always come to find me, which makes me really happy. I'm very grateful to both of them. In other words, don't try to correct Vanitas' habit of getting lost. Why not think of it as a good opportunity to strengthen your bond and go find him as many times as you have to? Oh my god. He's like, so shipping them, just shipping them to pieces, right? Love it. Then we have Lost Lamb L, which is Luca. And he says, I can't let people see my face. So the thing is, a nasty pest has started hanging around a woman who's precious to me and striving me to distraction. When I think that something might happen to her when I'm not around, I just can't focus on my duties. Oh no, that's not it. She isn't my lover, not yet. I couldn't. Like, Luca wants Jean to be with him when he's older, and it's adorable. And then Roland says, not yet means you'd like her to be your lover, doesn't it? Then go on, be honest, and tell her that you love her. It'll make you feel a whole lot better than fretting about it without telling her now how you feel. It'll be fine, don't worry. If she turns you down, just go looking for your next love. This world is full of love. Oh my God, I love it. I love that they say in like the asterisk here, it says, out of consideration for personal privacy, individuals' names and faces have been censored, but you know exactly who they are. It's amazing. Lost Lamb O says, a colleague of mine who was recently promoted to captain has been flagrantly violating discipline, and no matter what I say to him, he shows no contrition. If this goes on, since I recommended him, I'll come under criticism as well. What are your thoughts on that? Sister! I freaking love it. And Roland's like, you've got it wrong, Olivier. I'm not trying to violate discipline. I just categorically refuse to do things I don't want to do. Besides, you've known what I'm like for over a decade now, remember? You knew as much as when you recommended me, so there's really no help for it. That's all. I love it. So they've known each other for like 10 years. Interesting. And then Lost Vanitas says, I didn't come here because I wanted anything. I just ended up, Vanitas, don't stray over there in the corner. Come here, let's talk. I want to know so much more about you. What's your birthday? Do you have a sweetheart? What foods do you like? Vanitas. It's really cute. And I like the volume ending at that. Roland is like such a ray of sunshine. And I love his interactions with all the characters. It's great, right? So that's the end of volume 6. And then volume 7, I love this cover. It's the top of the rooftop. It's Jean-Jacques and Chloe, the red and the blue. Just, it's really, really pretty. And then we have Dante and Vanitas, Dante with the orange, and then Vanitas there beside him, which is really cool too. I like that as well. So yeah, so we get a little bit more about Astolfo. Where volume 6 leaves off is that Astolfo shows up and Noé is like, I got this. I really like this page because Vanitas looks like he's about to protest Noé and be like, ah. And then he stops himself and he's like, he's like, there's no point in me trying to do it. So he's like, I'll leave it to you, kid. I'll leave the kid to you. And then he's like, make sure you belt him one for me. I like Noé's like, yes, I'll punch him in the face for you, Vanitas. It's freaking cute. It's freaking cute. I love their banter. Also, starting in this volume, there are little mini comics. I don't know exactly what the point is, but they're adorable. Like one of them is this, where Astolfo, it's called Astolfo and Marco. This top panel where he's like, have you seen Marco? And he's like, Marco. And he's just like such a chibi little cute chibi face. It's adorable. And he's like, what did you need, Captain? And then Astolfo says, what makes you think I needed something? Like, he just wanted to know where he was. Super cute. There's another one's even better, but I think it's cute that the mangaka does these. And so then, yes, we find out that the family was killed by the beast of Gévaudan. Chloe finds out from the neighbors that the Marquis is dead. The Marquis de Apshire is dead. He and my elder brother went out hunting wolves, and they were killed by the beast, but it's a lie. Mother, too, she'd never kill herself. The churchmen killed them all of them because of you. So we find out that it wasn't Jean-Jacques that killed the family. It wasn't Chloe. It was the church. What Machina warned her was going to happen finally caught up, where the church had been attacking the vampires and representing humanity, and it finally got to her village and killed them because they found out that the Japshires were harboring a vampire. And so it's your fault because you're here. And so then, yeah, we see the dad, so the beast shows up, the church gets the village to go after the beast, and the dad of Jean-Jacques actually shoots Jean-Jacques and is going to kill him, and that's when Chloe shows up and kills him and saves him later. And she's like, I haven't killed your father. And then that's when he tells her to run. So I guess she didn't kill the dad, or she lied, one way or the other. And that's when she remembers that Ruthven was sending Jean to go get her. And man, this double spread where we see Jean, like her as a kid playing with Chloe, and then her like as the burro. And I mean, Jean looks great with long hair. Jean's fine with short hair, but I'm a big fan of long hair Jean. I think Jean looks gorgeous in the black with the gauntlet and everything. And then Chloe's like, "You're the witch sent to kill me." Oh. Like, I like that she's just like, "Oh, really? Funny that." So so then that's when she dives off the cliff and we don't see anything more. So probably my favorite little comic here is that we have Chloe inviting Jean-Jacques to stay in her castle, which is super cool. And she's like, "Oh, this is my bedroom." And we see the blush on Jean-Jacques. He's like, "Is it okay if I go in? I'm going into her bedroom, this girl that I like. Oh my gosh." And then he walks in, it says trashed, and he's like, "What a mess." And it says in little letters there, it says, "After this, Jean-Jacques tidied up the place." So let it be known, Jean-Jacques is the reason the castle is clean. Chloe is a slob. It's so cute, right? So yeah, speaking of which, we get Vanitas showing up like he does in the anime. I love this page where he's like, "Where's my book?" And she's like, "Oh, it's somewhere in here." We see the big spread out of the library, and he's like, "Quoi?" And then he compares her to Noe. And I love that Noe is like, you're another vampire who can't put things back where they belong. And you see Noe being like, "I didn't drop it, I left it somewhere." I love it. It's wonderful. It's a great comparison. But yeah, we get basically the same thing that happens where Chloe tricks Nania and reveals that she's a jealous woman. And then Vanitas is like, "Do not make Nania remember who she is. No vampire can kill that." And so we have up there, right? Up here, we have 3 vampires, it looks like, or at least 2, that are like cornering Nania or cornering the queen to turn her into Nania. We have Ruthven and it looks like Veronica, right? We have the 2 of them. And it looks like there's a third person there, but if you look closely in the shadows, it's a vampire whose like head got lobbed off. So like a guard got their head lobbed off. So Ruthven and Veronica are responsible for the queen turning into Nania. Now, why? We don't know. Something, because they say we will have you vanish here. So why? What's, again, the mystery? And then the next page, Ruthven and Veronica are the ones that react alongside Machina. Alongside him, like everybody reacts to the queen being released from Nania. Ruthven, we see reaction. Ruthven and Veronica are the 2 biggest ones, so I'm like, they're clearly tied to Nania becoming what she is from the queen. Machina is there. We see the other vampires that are at Olfax's castle. We see Mihail. We get a preview of Mihail, right? We see Mihail. We see Luca. And then we see Luca and his brother. I'm assuming that's Mihail up in the corner. I'm assuming that is. And then if you look in the corner by Ruthven, there's like all these little bats around this figure. I'm pretty sure that's a shapeless one. In skulking in the alleyways. Interesting. And the fact that he's the tiniest panel. I mean, let's be real, y'all. And then, yeah, Nania as the queen. It looks so freaking freaky, right? And the cross-hatching, all of like the way that it's drawn is terrifying. She's quite freaky, right? Nania, she who harbors death, the malnomen of the first vampire of the Red Moon, Queen Faustina. So back when Vanitas was like, "Oh, where's your queen? Is she dead?" Yeah, she's not dead necessarily, but she is this curse bearer that is beyond all reason now, right? And has become this malnomen. Yep. So that's the thing, something took the queen's name and made her into this curse bearer that's trying to find names again, right? Something took her name and made her this. So was it Ruthven? Was it Veronica? Was it the shapeless one? We don't know, right? And the scariest thing of all is that when the alteration engine and everything stops working, when Vanitas gets it to like go back around, we see Faustina turn back into Nania, and Nania kind of looks around and goes, "Oh yes, I have to go hunt for names." Like she's just trying to find her name again. So Vanitas does not like turn Nania back into the queen. We don't know exactly why yet, but it could be because she's too far gone and there's nothing more to do for her. It's like, nah, she's just stuck in this state forever now. We don't know, but it's a creepy moment. It's really freaky. Speaking of freaky, there's this weird, like the weird guy with the gazelle head saying it's no use. Your hand won't reach that fellow. You can't save anyone. All you do is lose them. But you persist in reaching out. Why? Come to us in Charlatan. So I don't know if the gazelle guy is supposed to be Louis. Is it supposed to be like Louis as a Malnoman? Is it just a random Malnoman? Is it what Noe would become if he became a Malnoman? Like, whatever it is, it's trying to get Noe to join them at Charlatan. So what do we do with that? So, but then Noe promptly forgets about it, so. And then Roland shows up, and I just love the panel of Roland being like, I like you, and Noe's like, friendship, and Vanitas is like, get me away from all of this. It's freaking adorable, right? So we cut back to Jean after basically all the stuff that happens in anime goes on. We cut back to Jean, but Jean, when we go back to her flashback as a burrow, we see Machina show back up again as the bear and said, they made you the Senate's burrow today. Since I'm a member, you're my burrow as well. I'll make you a weapon to match your skill in combat, and you can rampage to your heart's content. So he made her the gauntlet, Machina did, which is good to know. And she's like, I'm a tool, and I should simply do as I'm told. And we cut back to Chloe saying, you're the Hellfire Witch. And then Jean, of course, has this conflict of, I like Chloe, I don't want to kill her, but I'm a tool. And that's when Chloe falls from the mountain. And that's when Jean kind of breaks down. Now, what's interesting is they go into more detail about Jean's breakdown after Chloe falls off the mountain. Basically, the Senate thinks that she's broken as a Hellfire Witch. And they try to, like, destroy her. Because they're like, oh, well, she's no use to us now. She broke in the end. She's not going to be a tool for us. We need to get rid of her. But Ruthven takes her in. Right? Ruthven takes her in and says he's going to take care of her. And then before Ruthven shows up, Nania arrives and tries to, like, talk to her. Like, Nania arrives like she's going to steal her name. But then, after that moment, that's not what happens. As far as we know, Nania hasn't stolen her name. But then when she wakes up, like, when she goes to go after Nania, she ends up attacking Ruthven instead. So, and then Ruthven's like, you swore me an oath. Now, is the oath him telling her to sleep until the war ends and everyone can live in peace? Was that the oath, and that she would just do what he said? And he's like, heal your wounds? Or was it something else? We don't know. But Ruthven is clearly tied to Nania, and whatever happened to Queen Faustina, him and Veronica are tied to it in ways we don't know yet, but I like the mystery being developed, right? But the point is that Jean, who thought she was in this pit of despair, gets broken out of it by Vanitas. And I love the idea of her breaking loose of the darkness and Vanitas like ruffling her hair and being like, D'accord, I'll help you. It's great. What's even better though, because you could say like, oh, that's a really cool shipping moment between Jean and Vanitas, which it is. I'm not going to deny all that. I like Vanitas and Jean as well. But what makes this a good Noe shipping moment with Vanitas as well is right after he sees her crying and he offers to help her, he goes over to Noe and kicks him. And Noe's like, what the fudge? And we find out that in Vanitas' head, he's thinking back to when Noe told him back at Moreau, when Vanitas was about to give up, and Noe was like, not yet, don't give up yet, Vanitas. Vanitas just did the exact same thing for Jean. And he's like, it's because of you. He's like, I didn't mean to say it. He's like, oh, I didn't want to promise something I might not be able to do. This is ridiculous. And he's like, take responsibility for this, Noe. And Noe's like, what did I do? So basically, Noe influenced and inspired Vanitas to inspire Jean, and now he wants to blame Noe for it. I love it. It's freaking great. But we not only get more of that, we also get a little bit more insight into Dante, because Dante, Jean's like, Johann is like, why are you helping Vanitas and them? We're just here for information. Why do you trust Vanitas? And we go back to Dante's past and we find out that there is a lot of prejudice against the Doms because they're half-bloods. And there are a lot of vampires there's a lot of humans and vampires who don't believe they should exist. And that's around the time Dante's at his lowest point and hates humanities and hates the vampires. That's when he meets Vanitas. And what's interesting is that Vanitas has like this blood on him. He's got a scar. It looks like he's just maybe had the battle with Luna. We don't know. But he asks Dom if he's an information broker. And Dom's like, well, just so you know, or Dante says, just so you know, I'm a Dom. I'm a half-breed. And Vanitas says, so what? He's like, humans, vampires, Doms, I hate them all equally. Because they've all like messed up Vanitas' life. And I like that inspires Dante to look for the book of Vanitas in the library, because he realizes just how much he owes Vanitas and how Vanitas has been kind to him. So it's great. So he does find the book. Jean and Noe have that heart-to-heart, and Noe convinces Jean to go spill his guts to Chloe. And I really love this page where the book is flying down and we see Vanitas grabbing for it amidst all the other books. It's beautiful. And then Jean goes in to help Vanitas. There's all the crystallized like briar branches, and Jean-Jacques climbs up it and he sees Chloe at the end of the volume. So there were two other panels I wanted to talk to you all about that were at the end of this. One was this Chaucer note of vice captains appointed by the captains themselves. So we have Astolfo has Marco, who is his vice captain. We have Roland, whose vice captain is Jorge. We have Olivier, whose vice captain is somebody that hasn't had a name yet. And then Olivier's vice captain used to be Roland. So he's probably glad that he got promoted, because he's like, no. It looks like he's very frazzled there, right? And then the mangaka gives us this highly acclaimed by the editor, a guy in girl's clothes, a girl in guy's clothes in non-stop secret love. Romance is a love mission. With quotes, I couldn't stop crying. I'm sure it's because their youth stole my heart. The very first chapter will make your heart ache. It's basically a gender bend of Jean and Vanitas in like a schoolboy, schoolgirl setting. I'm here for it. But then he says, our story. And we have like Jean saying, you be my property or my food. So we have, I'm Vanitas Suzuki, a third-year high school student who has infiltrated Zutomo Academy as an agent of the espionage organization Blue Moon. Forced to rush after sleeping late on my first day as a transfer student, while rounding the corner, I ran into a guy holding a piece of bread in his mouth. What a shock! Oh my god. Not only that, but the hungry kid drank my blood and said, be my property. Food. What a disaster. On top of it all, due to a little accident, oopsies, we both realized we were actually male and female and ended up having to cooperate with each other. This is awful. What's with that jerk? It's not like I like you or anything, right? What's going to become of the little time I've got left as a student? So it's such a crazy concept. It says Zutomo Private Academy, a very peaceful school founded by the enigmatic director as a hobby where humans and vampires learn together. Rumor has it the secret about the vampire queen is hidden there. So then there's this chart of relationships, which I wanted to read out. I haven't read this actually, but I was like, I want to read this for the reaction. But talking about, we have Dominique Seonji, the prince of the school. She forced a lot of shoujo manga onto Jean, which made her the way she is. And now she feels responsible. And it says Dominique is worried about Jean, but Jean likes Dominique. So it says here that Jean views Vanitas as food property, but Jean likes Dami. So I'm like, I'm considering it canon, mangaka. I'm considering the Dami-Jean ship canon. It says Jean Sasaki joined the school as a boy so that she could guard Luca around the clock. Got advice on how to act male from Dami, particularly likes Vanitas' blood. So yeah, she's pretending to be a boy. And then Luca, and then Jean's like, I'll protect Luca, and Luca likes Jean. And says Luca, a brilliant kid who's in high school after skipping a few grades and even serves as the student council president, was happy to go to school with Jean until Vanitas showed up. So then Vanitas Suzuki, our protagonist, had to infiltrate the girls' dorm in order to expose the school's hidden secret. So he joins Utomo Academy in drag, wants to hurry up and go home. So they found out each other's secrets, and they're both like disguising as the other gender. The director, of course, is the shapeless one. Go figure. The principal is Ruthven. Okay. Johan is the infirmary doctor and is fond of cute male students. Love it. Love the confirmation that Johan's into dudes. Richie and Amelia are often in corners of panels, good with complimentary and explanations. And this is Noe Yamada. Vanitas doesn't want Noe to follow him, and Noe wants to be friends with Vanitas, which is cute. The four-eyed class president. He's always attentive to Vanitas, the transfer student, but tends to strike out. Will he be able to make 100 friends? Which I kind of like. It establishes kind of like an asexual agenda with Noe, which I like. I like that it establishes that Noe may just be here for friends. Maybe Noe can be demisexual for Vanitas. Maybe. But I like the idea that Noe just wants to make friends. Then we have childhood friends Roland Tanaka and Olivier Cujo. Olivier is the world history teacher, popular with girls and popular with Roland. Love that! Roland, the ever-energetic health and PE teacher. The homeroom teacher for Vanitas' class. He has a loud voice. And has he realized who Vanitas really is? It's a good picture of Roland on that page. But then Astolfo loathes Roland, wants to expel Vanitas. Luca hates Vanitas, and he wants to dethrone Luca. Says Astolfo Shiratori, a pampered rich kid who's on the disciplinary committee. He's gunning for student council president seat for the next term. He won't let improper relations between the sexes get past him. Oh my god, I love it. And then Dante Ito has like blush and rouge on. And Dante, an agent who tried to infiltrate the Academy of Vanitas, was unmasked as a guy in drag on the first day of school and expelled. Gee, I can't imagine why. So yeah, that's really cute. But yeah, oh wow, I talked for literally an hour about this. I didn't know how much I would talk about these series because it was just 2 volumes, but there was actually a lot of extra things pointed out that I was like, oh, okay. So there was a lot of extras noted. So I felt like this was a good stopping point. Obviously, we know Chloe is going to her and Jean-Jacques are going to be okay. But I'm really excited now that we have 3 volumes to cover a lot of anime ground. So that should be interesting. So yes, next week I'm going to be looking at volumes 8, 9, and 10. Now the volume 10 will be out. I want to support the official release. Get these beautiful copies of the manga because they are gorgeous. But yes, I thank you, Patreon, for helping me get these. I really, really appreciate it. But I'm excited to talk about the last 3 volumes and catch up and be caught up with you all until next time we get Vanitas. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, what you all thought of these volumes. I thought they were great. I was excited to get new content, but I'm really, really excited moving forward to see what we get with the other 3 final volumes. So that'll be next week. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more on the case study of Vanitas.